Hello and welcome to episode 68 of the MR Runningpains podcast. My name is Aaron Saft, and I am bringing to you today a very close to the heart friend. His name is Michael Harms. Michael and I were in the Runner's World cover search contest back in 2016. Michael is an amazing human, and he is a great father, friend, runner, everything. He's just so well-rounded. He's a kindred spirit. You know, we connected very quickly when we met in New York City. As you'll hear from our conversation, I just hit record just so you could get a feel for the emotion and the reconnection. It meant a lot for this conversation to happen. Michael is fantastic. He is attempting his first 100-miler at Old Dominion this weekend, which is June 5th, and I am also lining up. It's Michael's first, obviously, so we wanted to have a conversation about his training, his history, what got him into the Runner's World contest, which is an amazing story in and of itself. So I hope you'll give that the time and listen, because his story is one that, it touches the heart. The Harms family is just an amazing family. Michael's wife, Hope, is just, an exuberant spirit, full of love, and you can just tell she's just wide open and caring. I really enjoyed meeting them, and it has been way too long since I've seen them, so I am looking forward to this reunion. I will see them pre-race on Friday, so I cannot wait to give them a huge hug. This conversation, as I said, it means a lot, and I hope you enjoy it because it was just fun and jovial as we talk about everything, including leading up to Old Dominion. We will have a follow-up conversation to this as to how things went for each of us. So that will be our next episode. So I look forward to the adventure this weekend, to lining up for the Old Dominion 100. As I look forward to also hearing how it goes for Michael, and I hope it goes tremendously. At the end, I will not have a conclusion as I usually do, just because I want to leave it open-ended for our next conversation. So with that said, just a few things. The newsletter will be out, so by the time you are listening to this, which will be June 3rd, is when it releases, the June newsletter will be out. So if you have not subscribed to newsletter, you can do so on my website, mrrunningpains.com. There is a subscription link there. If you want to see the newsletter, I'll post it to social medias, as well as it is posted under the Connect page. You can see all the old archived newsletters as well as podcasts are all archived there. If you're just listening to this for the first time, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the conversation and the format of this podcast. I do try to have guests on and create conversations in which we can all learn from. So if you enjoy it, please subscribe. I really would appreciate the ad, and it helps other people find it. For those of you that are subscribers and are frequent listeners and Patreon supporters, again, my thanks to you guys. This is tremendous. As I always say, it's so much fun, and I can't believe the guests that I have on. I am incredibly fortunate to do these interviews and hear from these people, because I learn a lot. I'm inspired, so I hope it does the same for you. Future conversations will include Corey Keene. I'm actually recording with him this evening, Wednesday, June 2nd. We are going to talk about the differences between marathon and 50K training. Corey's a coach as well and has just recently won the Quest for the Crest 50K here in Western North Carolina, one of the tougher 50Ks in the nation. So that will be a fun conversation. I also hope to record with my son, who just finished up his 8th grade track season and had a wonderful culminating event. If you haven't seen it on social media, hopefully we'll talk about that if I can drag him on the microphone. I was so proud of him. So, another future interview, but as I said, this one all about Michael Harms, Old Dominion. I can't wait to introduce you to Michael, so let's get to it. Oh, it is awesome to see you, Michael.
Same, man. Same.
That's fantastic. Oh man, we should have done this sooner. Oh man,
Yeah.
how's everybody?
Everybody's well, man. Doing very
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
little ones are in
Yeah.
bed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my wife's working on it.
Bless her.
Excuse me.
Is Donald going to make
Yes.
an
Yes.
appearance?
Bless her. No. Well, I mean, I could carry the laptop down there to him, but he is up. He's on his iPad, just looking up stuff and yeah,
All right.
having
Well,
fun.
maybe at the end we can see him. I'd love to say hey. Um,
Oh,
but
definitely, dude. He would love that. Yeah.
it's just wonderful, and you're doing okay too.
Yeah, man. Doing very well. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
How about you and your family?
We're all doing great. We had a great Memorial Day today. We One of my best friends from growing up. We ran together. He was at an opposing school, but we ran through middle school, high school,
Nice.
and then he came to NC State and we ran together. So we've been friends forever. So he came this weekend and we took him up Mount Pisgah, which is one of the iconic mountains here in Western North Carolina. So we hiked up that and then they headed out, and then the family and I just did some fun stuff. We went and played putt-putt, and my son did batting
Nice.
cages. And yeah, so it's just been a fun day. I'm going to get a little evening run here after we're done. So,
Oh man, late one, yeah.
yeah, just going to squeeze it in. How about you? What'd you guys do today?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, did some stuff around the house in the morning, and then took the three little dudes on an adventure back in the woods. We got tons of acreage back here, and um, so we go exploring. The Bull Run River actually runs behind our property line, and we'll
Oh,
just
cool.
go and follow it along and explore. And yeah, they love it. So we did that for a few hours actually. um,
No, that's great.
yeah, and then came home and hung out with Donald for a while. We have a good friend of ours lives down the road, and they have a BMW convertible, which Donald loves. So they let us borrow it from time to time to go for
Oh,
a joyride. So yeah,
oh,
we were just cruising around and that was, yeah, having a blast. So
well, that's
it was a
fantastic.
good day. Yeah,
And you have is it five now? Is that right? Five total?
four.
Four. Okay. So you have the three young boys and their ages.
Yep,
What's
they
their ages?
are 6, 4, and 2.
6, 4, and 2. And then how old is Donald now?
24.
24. Oh man.
Yeah.
And what's Donald up to?
He is, got some stuff going on, but not nearly as much because of things are just starting to come back online, with COVID and stuff. But he has a day program that he was doing 4 days a week, which was awesome. It's through McLean Bible Church. So they do stuff out in the community. They do community service projects and
Oh, great.
stuff like that. And then he had lots of different sports stuff going on. He had bowling, and he and I were running races all the time. But none of that stuff has come back yet. One of his favorite activities was power wheelchair soccer, which is really
Oh, nice.
cool because he can do it. It's independent. He's just out there on the court
Yeah.
himself playing. So,
Nice.
But so some of those there's talk at least of starting them back up, but they haven't.
Oh,
None of them really have. Everything's been just still virtual and things like that.
cool.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back here. So those that are listening kind of get a feel for you and for Donald and this story and how you and I met and all that good stuff. So this would take us back to 2016. Michael and Donald and I were all finalists in the Runner's World cover search. And as finalists, we went to New York City, and that's where we met in person. And I got to meet your family, minus the youngest, obviously.
Yeah.
Actually, let me think. I think your 4-year-old obviously wasn't there. Yeah. So you just had Oliver?
Just Oliver. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we had such a tremendous time. That was so fantastic. And but let's give everybody kind of a backstory of you and Donald and how that all came together.
Sure. Like from the very beginning, or just running stuff?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So everybody gets the complete picture of you
Sure.
and Donald, and how this all
Yeah.
tied in.
Yeah. Okay. Um, well, yeah. Donald is from Jamaica, actually, and my wife and I went there on a trip. We were both special education teachers at the time, and went there to just do. It was a volunteer trip. We went to a home for children with special needs, and yeah, we went again. It was a sort of a short term volunteer trip. Some friends had been before, and we're like, "You guys got to go and see this place. It's really the kids are amazing. The staff is doing the best they can, and they're amazing." So we went. Really fell in love with the place in general, the staff and the children there. But there was just an immediate special connection with Donald that was like unexplainable. We didn't even understand it, at the time. Um, in hindsight, after Oliver was born, we recognized that feeling. It's the feeling of that you get when you meet and see your child for the first time. um, but yeah, so we that was back in 2010. Um, so yeah, we met Donald then, and just had a special connection. We went back a bunch of times. We started a nonprofit with those same friends to continue work there, and just with the main focus at the time of starting a school there. They had never had a long-term school presence there, which was it was awesome because it enabled us to go back a lot. So we go back every like 3 months and see Donald, and it was just clear that the connection was not just a feeling, and it was also clear that it was mutual with Donald. And so on our third trip, we talked with him about like adoption, and he was totally on board, thankfully. So yeah, we started the adoption process then. That was still 2010. It took about 2.5 years, and we brought him home April 2013.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. And for those that don't know, what are Donald's special needs?
So he has cerebral palsy. He's what's considered spastic quadriplegic. So it affects all four limbs. It even affects his head and neck muscles, pretty much his entire body. He would be classified as nonverbal, but he's super communicative. It's just the muscle control is difficult for him to enunciate and say many things. But he's got a pretty clear yeah and a no. He says "da" for dad, and so he can say some sort of monosyllabic things that he's learned over the time. But most of his communication is done through nonverbal gestures and motions, or he has a communication device now that he's been with us in the States, that he's been still is learning and using. Yeah, that's the main gist of it.
That's so fantastic how you guys
Yeah.
came together.
Yeah.
And then you were running already, no, at that point?
No, I
Oh,
was
no.
not. Mm-mm. No,
Okay.
I ran track in high school, but that's it's a long time ago, man. um, and I did I was a 400 was my main race, and I did cross country a couple years. Wrestling was actually my main sport in high school, so I did cross country sort of to get in shape for wrestling, and then track. I was pretty good in the 400, and the 200 a little bit, and surprisingly long jump. But yeah, but no, I was not running at all. I was into bike racing and did some amateur bike racing for like the year, maybe year and a half. But then once we adopted Donald, I stopped it actually just because I was the crashes, and it just wasn't worth the risk anymore. So no, he totally got me into running.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
And what brought that about?
It's a pretty cool story too. Actually, he's super into sports, super active. So we were just like looking for stuff to do, trying to find as many things to get him involved in as possible. And some friends just sent us a video actually of Rick and Dick Hoyt, father son, who pioneered people with special needs doing endurance events. And so Donald and I, Hope was out of the house. Actually, she was in grad school at the time, so she was like doing some studying or something, and it was just he and I on a Sunday afternoon eating lunch. And so I got this, email in my inbox like, hey, check out this video. I think you and Donald like it. This was about a year. He'd been with us about a year. So this was 2014 in the spring. And just really cool video of Rick and Dick Hoyt doing running races and triathlons and stuff. And Donald was super just riveted the whole time. I mean, just eyes glued to the screen. Like, and I was like, riveted as well. And even a little emotional. It was just such a cool video. And it was over and I was like, oh, that was awesome. And Donald was just, clearly indicating something. He's going, dad, which is him saying like, dad, like trying to get my attention. And he's doing it very urgently. And I'm like, so my first thought, of course, me being dense is you got to go to the bathroom. Because he's like, no, you fool. Like I would say if I had to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, what's wrong? And finally he's like looking at the screen at the last image that's left on the screen. I'm like, oh, you liked the video? And he's like, yeah. Finally it dawns on me he's saying he wants to do that. And I'm like, you want to do that? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we could like look into that, like figure out, what kind of gear we got to get or what. So I go back to, finish up lunch and he's like, no, like, and he's still adamant about something. I'm like, what's up, man? What's up? And so finally he's like, Dad, you're not getting it. So he's in a manual chair at the time. He didn't have a power wheelchair yet, which he has now. He takes his foot and puts it up on the table and pushes away from the table in just the perfect manner so that it pushes him back and spins his chair around right to facing the front door. And it finally dawns on me like, oh, you want to go like do that right now?
Now.
He's like, yeah. So I was like, okay. So we go in the garage and dig out this old stroller that we had like first used when we got him. And he was really small when we brought him home. He was 34 pounds at 16 years old. So, wow. So he just blossomed and grew, a bunch in that first year. So he was already way too big for it, but it was all we had. And I was like, are you sure you're going to be comfortable in this? And he was like, yeah, I don't care. This is fine. So we went for a run, literally, well, like, call it a run, but like, I think we did like maybe a mile just around the block and he like loved it. And I was like, would you want to do like races? And he was like, yeah, like, of course. So our school system that we worked at was putting on a 5K literally the next Saturday. So in like 6 days, I was like, all right, let's sign up and do it. So we did a 5K the next week. And 3 months later, we did Marine Corps Marathon and just, eventually did a half Ironman triathlon and four more marathons and tons of 10Ks and 5Ks and all kinds of stuff in between.
And you've had tremendous support from a nonprofit organization that helps provide the racing chair, right? And you want to talk about them?
Yeah, totally. Ainsley's Angels of America, great organization that if you need stuff, you need gear, they're totally there to help. And they're just all about inclusion, people with special needs, people with various disabilities or anything that want to, they're all about their inclusion within endurance sports and within anything in general, but the primary focus being endurance sports. So we quickly found out about them and they helped us get an initial much better chair, and which was actually the chair we still had in New York. It's called the Freedom Chair. It was great. And then they eventually even helped go a step further and we got this chair called the Blade, which is more similar to what you'd see like Rick Hoyt riding in. It's awesome. I mean, that thing is streamlined for racing. So they've been tremendous in helping us get equipment, find races that will let us run. And it's a great organization.
Yeah, that's great. So I'll include them in the show notes along with their website.
Yeah, please do. They will pair runner athletes with rider athletes too. So if like you're a runner or a triathlete looking to get involved, they'll pair you with they have rider athletes that they can pair you with. So, and they're all over the country.
Yeah, no, and we'd be remiss. Didn't Dick Hoyt just pass?
Yes, unfortunately and sadly. Yeah.
That was, I mean, he's such a motivation to so many. My first Boston, I think, was my first encounter with them. They start with the wheelchair division, and I was running past, and it was, at the time I didn't know who he was. I'll be honest. This was back in 2002. I think it was like 2001, 2002. So I wasn't even aware of who they were. And then, obviously the story came out, and I mean, they're very amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, you went from 1 weekend doing a 5K to 3 months later doing a marathon.
Yeah, something like that.
How did that go? that was okay.
It was pretty rough. Donald is like just pure adventure, man. He is like just, I'll jump in the deep end and figure it out like as we go. So yeah, he's like, I mean, he was immediately like, I want to do a big, because he saw videos. So then we started looking up videos of Rick and Dick Hoyt and found out, oh, they've done like an insane amount of Boston marathons. They've run Marine Corps multiple times. And so he was like, okay, I want to do all of that. So so we started, I get into stuff. So I was just reading training, books on training and stuff and figuring out how to do it and winging it. And meanwhile, my, Hope, my wife, Donald's mom, is pregnant with Oliver, actually. So she's pregnant, had just a tough pregnancy. So she's super sick. And we also moved over the summer. So I think we maybe averaged 2 runs a week. We always managed to get in a long run. But the long run maxed out, I think, at maybe 18 miles, 1 week. And so the marathon was totally super fun though, but we definitely hit the wall hard around like 21, 22 miles. It was hurt. We were hurting, but we still finished. Oh my gosh, dude. He's like, I would have been done, 15 miles. Like he's totally, he is, the strength behind the team. That's for sure. Like, when I start fading, and he can tell, like when my pace starts slowing, he's immediately yelling, "Da, da," and go, which is go, like go. Or if he sees someone up ahead of us, like, and he thinks we can catch them before, the finish line's coming, I mean, he is like jumping out of the chair, man. like yeah. So he's a competitor all the way. That's for sure.
That's tremendous. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So cool. So, did you guys get to do Boston together?
No, we have not yet. We haven't yet sort of like set, okay, let's really prepare for this marathon and try to qualify for Boston. So we have to qualify they use my age.
I see.
Age group time, which I think now is 3:10, which really means, you got to run like 3:07:30 probably. Or maybe fast.
45.
So we've never though. We've been so interested in so many different things. So we very quickly started doing triathlons too. I think the next year in 2015. Wow. So we kind of we're always balancing, training for different things and wanting to do well, even in like local 10Ks and half marathons that he really enjoys. He loves airport races because he loves anything aviation. So like if there's an airport race going on, he's like, I'm there, and we want to really do well at that one. I think mainly because one time we got second overall in one, and we were awarded a free helicopter ride, like, which is
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so he was like ecstatic about that. So I think now he's like, okay, we need to find every airport race there is and try to see if we can win another ride. But no, so but we have gotten our marathon time down to 3:20, and I know we can run. I know we can run faster. Like I said, we've just never. We've always sort of like the marathon. We've always run it in the fall because it's always been Marine Corps, or we ran Richmond once. And it's always sort of like we've trained for something big through the summer, and then we just sort of kind of ride out the training without really trying to do a proper build. And but we've talked about it. He's been pretty adamant, like he wants to do that. But he also wants to do a full distance Ironman too. So we gotta, and he's getting, now that I've been doing ultra marathons, he wants to, see if there's one that we can do together. So he's got a lot of goals. We got to,
Yeah. That's tremendous. How does I haven't seen how the bike works. How does the bike work in a triathlon with Donald?
Well, there's different ways you can do it. What we do right now, when Angels, and my wife actually really spearheaded to that, give some props to her on getting us the blade chair. It was a surprise. She like fundraised and worked with Angels Angels on. That chair, the front wheel actually comes off and it attaches right to my bike. So
okay.
yeah, so it's awesome. So the transition's super easy. We just detach it from my bike, throw the front wheel on, and then go run.
That's cool.
So that's how we do the bike. It is challenging because pulling something is just pretty slow. It's hard to go fast. So like you see Rick and Dick Hoyt, and there's the Peasy brothers too, who are awesome. And we've met them. They're great athletes, and do a lot for the sport and for inclusion. But they all eventually transitioned to a system where the rider athlete is on the bike, and eventually we'd maybe like to do that because I think we'd be able to go faster. But yeah, for now this is working great.
Awesome. That's so cool. Yeah. Very cool. Oh man, what's been the favorite race so far? I mean, obviously, Donald's was probably the one you got the helicopter ride, but what's been your favorite experience thus far?
Oh my gosh, man. There's been a lot. I don't know. That's a tough one. I would say the half Ironman maybe is definitely up there, just because it was a long race, man. It took us like, I think we finished right at 7 hours. So I wasn't sure how Donald would do, handling that long of a race, that much time in the chair. I knew the swim, he'd be okay. It's not that long. He likes the adventure of being in, he's in a raft, and I tow him in that one, which is just a whole nother crazy deal with some crazy stories in races. But it's not super long though. And then the run, I knew we could run it still pretty fast. So the bike leg though, 56 miles, I knew it was going to take us a while. So I wasn't sure how, I thought maybe he might, after feeling that long in the chair, he might be like, I'm not so sure about this. But I mean, man, he was just like a tough as nails, pushing me, driving me on through the entire thing. Just every time I would start to lag, especially on the bike, he would be back there yelling like, "Go!" I'd be keep checking on him. Hey, do you need anything? You want me to just pull over and get you? No, keep going. Like he knew he knew too. The bike is going to be our slowest point, so there's no stopping. We need to get through this. Like, so yeah. I mean, and he was just, again, like I said, tough as nails through the whole thing. Way tougher than I was. It was hot too. I mean, it was in July in Williamsburg. We were roasting, but he was just like keeping me motivated through the whole thing. So he's just tough, man. We had one race where we actually crashed in the try. It was just a sprint distance. When it was like a U-turn turnaround point in the bike leg. So you go out, turn around, come back. And when we were doing the turn, super slow, going real slow, the bike just hit like a dip in the road, and it just popped the one wheel. And it was just, he's so light too still. He only weighs not even 70 pounds, around 69, 68 pounds. It just tipped over. And we have this flag, it snapped off and hit him. He had a cut over his eye. Yeah, man. But he, we got him, I wrapped the thing around him, and he was like, "Let's go." Like, and I was like, "You're sure?" And he's like, "Let's go." Like, I'm good. Like, we went through, we got into transition, and I thought like, okay, you good? You want to stop now? And he kind of thought about it maybe for like half a second, but then I was like, no, let's go. And so it ended up being one of our fastest, like 5Ks period. Like we crushed it. We ended up getting, I think, third overall in the 5K. That split. Nice. Our split was yeah. So he's just tough, man.
That's super cool. That's so cool. I don't think I've ever really talked about the Runner's World, the cover search on the podcast. Just I guess because I never felt like I should have deserved. There were so many other people that were well more deserving than myself. I mean, I certainly appreciate the honor of being there, but with stories like yours and the folks that we met, it was life-changing for me. I mean, it really was. It opened my eyes, to these tremendous folks that are out in the world doing amazing things. But how did that experience go for the two of you? What did you guys come out of that feeling?
Same, yeah, very much the same. Just that there's so many amazing people doing incredible things, and using running to do some of them. Yeah, that was relatively early into our running too,
Yeah.
for it to happen, and so it was totally surprising to us. I'm not big with social media either. I did during that because I was like, oh my gosh, we maybe have a shot at like getting noticed here. Like I thought for sure, like we'll enter this, and nothing will happen, but it'll be whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just like picked up. People are sharing it and sharing it and sharing it, and voting every day. Yeah, it was really special, especially to see too, just so much support for Donald. And yeah, it just kind of like, I don't know, it was really special in that respect to see him just completely welcomed with open arms into the running community. Um, it was really cool and really special to see.
That's cool. What did he think
Yeah.
of New York City in that experience?
Oh man, that too. That was really the main reason why we entered it. He loves big cities, and he really wanted to go to New York City. And we were like, joking, like, hey man, let's enter this. Maybe we'll get to go to New York City. And sure enough, like it was like he got to fly on an airplane. He loves aviation. Like it was just a dream come true for him.
That's
So
fantastic.
yeah.
No, we also did a car ride, an interview with Bart Yasso. Now, how did that go for you guys? Did the three of you sit in the back seat?
Yep, the three of us sat in the back seat. Donald was in the middle.
Yeah.
It was great. Bart is awesome. He still, if we see him at a race, like he goes out of his way to come up to us and say hi to Donald. But he's just a cool guy, man. He's really great. Yeah. Totally knows how to talk to Donald. Talks to him just like a normal guy, which is exactly right. So yeah, that was really fun.
Oh man, it was such a great memory. I mean, I felt a really special connection just to the two of you. I seemed to gravitate toward the two of you more so than the other runners. I don't know if it was a commonality, and I was a special educator as well, and just kind of having that compassion and that fatherly instinct, with two kids of my own. But it really was just a amazing connection, and I really loved, just the vibrance that Donald emits. He has such a positivity to him, and it's infectious. So that was a really unique and awesome experience. And it's been 5 years. So in that time, you've stepped up in distance. So why don't you talk about that journey as well?
Yeah. I mean, really, the stepping up in distance lately has just kind of been because of COVID. There's been no road races going on. Trail races were kind of starting to come back. So I was talking to Donald, like, hey, would you be cool? If I did some of these trail races, you can't, the kind of trail races I'm doing, he can't do, we just can't push a chair along that. Sure. Going up mountains and rocks and roots and stuff. So no, he was totally on board. I think probably mostly, and he jokes about this because it would keep me in shape, so I wouldn't get completely out of shape when they finally come back. He wants, because he's like, when road races come back, which he's hoping and planning on this fall, we are back full steam. Yeah. So yeah. I've always loved the trails. My wife and I backpacked the whole Appalachian Trail. Actually, we did half of it, went back to work, and during that, and then we did the second half, and in between there is when we met Donald, which is really serendipitous, the whole thing, because we were actually planning on doing some kind of international traveling for a long time, but we were like, let's go back, finish the next school year out, and then we'll do that. But that's when we met Donald and set all those plans kind of aside. Yeah. So I've always loved the trails, and if it wasn't for Donald, I probably wouldn't do too much road running. I like pushing myself, so I enjoy that part, but I'd much rather do it out on trail. So yeah, I was just running a bunch on the trails, and Donald was cool with me, trying out some trail races. And I had done a 50 miler actually back in 2016. Actually, I did it. We were going on a road trip out west, and I was running just a bunch on the trail at the time. Like still racing. I was racing with Donald, but I would just some of my long runs I would do on the trail. And I was turning 33 and I was like, I'm going to work up to running 33 miles. And then that was kind of during that time that I heard about ultra running. I didn't really know about it. I had heard of ultra marathons, but I never looked into it. And it was just like, it was instantly appealing. It was like, oh my gosh, this is my thing. Like I just knew it right away. But it just didn't really work with Donald. So I wasn't like going to pursue it too hard, but it was like, oh, this is like, I dig this a lot. So we were going to be out west, and I was like, if I can run 33 miles, I can run 50. And we were going to be in Colorado, and heard of this place called Leadville. They were having a 50 miler. So thankfully that's one you can get into. There's no like lottery or anything. So I was like, hey, my family, are you guys cool with me doing this, taking one whole day basically to do this? And they were on board. So I ran that, but I didn't really like race it. It was more just a way to be supported on spending 50 miles out in the mountains.
Nice.
But then, this past time during COVID, I've just been turning the training volume up, and being out on the trails more. Yeah. Awesome. And loving it.
So, our main conversation is on Old Dominion, which is this coming weekend. Can't believe it's here. I mean, I had about 3 weeks heads up.
That's crazy.
Whatever.
Yeah. No biggie. Just 100 miles.
That's right. Were you signed up last year for it?
No.
No.
I signed up in whenever it opened back up. I decided to do it in December though, basically.
Okay. So I had kind of put my name in it, but I was deep on the wait list. So, with them only taking 100 people, I was like, chance, like I had actually forgotten, totally about it. And when I got the email, I was like, whoa,
yeah,
okay. With the okay for my wife, I clicked the green button and and here we are. How far is Old Dominion from you?
Not far, man. It's like an hour. It starts and finishes in Woodstock. It's like an hour and some change from us. One of my long runs, I actually got to get out there and run on the course some, because it's not that far.
Which portion did you go?
I did. I parked at Beach Gap.
Oh, okay.
I went up Elizabeth Furnace. I did that real tough section that's from 75 miles on that everybody talks about. So I went, but I did it backwards first, just to go out, and turned around at Elizabeth Furnace, came down to Beach, and then ran the last miles towards Woodstock, not all the way, but to get some feel for the dirt roads too.
Nice.
So
nice. What do you think?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, that section is pretty gnarly. But I mean, I'm excited for it. Like, and then
go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was going to say, I guess that's the section we get the safety runner.
Yes.
Are you going to have a safety runner?
No, I'm not.
No. Okay. Very good. I asked if my son could join me for that.
Yes.
So, and they said yes. Now it's just a matter of me getting there in the daylight, because my wife is like, he's not going down in the dark. So
yeah.
I gotta get my butt there when it's still daylight.
That's awesome. What a good safety runner to have, though, man. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's exciting. So he just finished his season, so I'm excited to hopefully get him out there. But what made you choose Old Dominion?
A few things. One, there's no lottery. Like I thought back in December when I got the idea, and I was like, if there's ever a time to do 100 miles, which is like always been something I've been interested in doing, it was like, now is it. I got the okay with the family because I knew it was going to take a lot of, my training volume was going to go up, so it meant more time running on the weekends. So they were all cool with that, and so I figured being in June with the way things I was hopeful that they would be able to have it. One, two, it's close. It's sort of like the local, like a local one almost, which I love that. And then I just like that sort of, it's always been described as sort of low key family run. I love all that. That's super appealing.
Nice.
Super appealing to me. So all those kind of factors played into that. Plus, and it's got a long history, being one of the oldest in the country. So yeah, for all those reasons.
Nice. Have you come up with your goals? You don't have to discuss me if you're not.
Yeah, no. I mean, I've got my goals. I'm not. It's so hard, I don't.
Yeah.
I've never run more than 50 miles. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know what's going to happen after 50 miles. So, which is most people I know when they
Yeah.
do 100 mile, obviously. But the big thing is like that pace. I don't know. Yeah, even in. Huh? Good.
I was gonna say, let's talk about that. Like,
Yeah.
let's talk about that. And hey, feel free to ask questions too. I mean, like that's
Sure.
what I'm here for. But yeah, I mean, like when you were training, what were you trying to feel a slower pace, or were you training at your normal pace? How did that go?
So I would kind of switch it up as we got closer to as we've gone closer to the race.
Mm-hmm.
I've been more specific with my training and trying to find. It's hard where I live in Northern Virginia. But trying to find some parts of the trails that somewhat mimic the elevation change. It's not exactly the same because I don't have any long. I mean, it's not super long climbs either in Old Dominion, I know, but everything here is just sort of up and down.
Yeah.
So I can get some elevation change, but it's like literally 200 feet up, 200 feet down, 200 feet up. Yeah. So no, I've been doing more sort of slower. Getting like I said, trying to get more specific towards what I'll hopefully be doing during Old Dominion.
And what are you thinking, like pace wise or finish time wise? What's in your mind?
Yeah. So, right now my A goal is under 22 hours.
Okay.
It's I think a little bit ambitious, but not crazy ambitious. I think it's doable. I think maybe I can run even possibly a little faster. And so if I'm feeling good and that happens, I'm going to kind of let it happen. I'm definitely one, and I don't to just go for it. And if I blow up, I blow up. So that's just also how Donald and I have always raced. That's how I always raced in high school. That's how I did my bike racing. Like I'd rather take a risk and see what happens, because that's the thing I love about especially ultra running is just exploring those limits. Where is that limit? And so to explore it, you got to get close and sometimes cross it.
As most people know, I've crossed that boundary a few too many times.
I've heard in some of your podcasts.
But this one, for my purposes, is not. I'm not pushing. I'm not trying to push any boundaries. I just want to get sub 24 and have a good time. Come out uninjured. That's my big goal.
Yeah.
But I mean, for your first one, you can't start too slow. And then, I think a lot of people, they're like, oh, it's cold out. It's cooler temperatures. We have a 4 a.m. start. And I guess we should give people a little bit more background here. So this is in Woodstock, Virginia. It is the Shenandoahs. Okay. So we're in the Shenandoah Valley with, a good amount of mountains in the area. It's 14,000 feet of elevation gain, which I really need to pull up like somebody's Strava file because they don't have an elevation profile on the website that I can find. So, which, it's been difficult because I've been trying to pull teeth to, find information. I've been asking some friends that have done it and stuff, but the website is very basic. We don't know what's going to be at the aid stations, just there are aid stations. So, it's really hard to kind of make a solid plan, not knowing a lot of this. And, so, all that to say, I'm going to have a crew, and you're having your wife, Hope, is going to be crewing for you, right? Yep. And when I looked at the spacing, I just did the math actually just before we got on, and I was kind of surprised by some of the lengths that, where like even the first one's almost 20 miles before you see crew or your drop bag. That's like the first time that you have like any type of, aid, not necessarily aid stations. There's aid stations prior. So we do have places where we can stop, but it is a pretty substantial amount of distance for a race like this. But with all that said, what's your plan for like that, that duration? What are you going to carry? How are you going to tackle that?
Just the first 20 miles?
Yeah.
Or
yeah. Yep. Talk about like, what you're thinking for going out pace wise, what you're going to have for, are you going to pack a little bit more are you going to do a bladder versus bottles, or, what are you thinking there?
Yeah, no, I'm planning on doing bottles. I'm going to do just kind of what I found that I like the best. I just wear a waist belt, the ultra fitted race belt. Actually, I can fit one of their ultra flasks, I think they call it, 500 milliliters.
You're talking about the Ultra Spire?
Yeah, Ultra Spire. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I love that thing because I can just cram so much in there. It's crazy.
Nice.
Between that and then my shorts, the pockets, I can even still fit stuff in the pockets of the shorts underneath there. So I can easily carry enough fuel for 20 miles. I've carried significantly more before. And then with the aid stations, I'll be able to get water at least. I'm not planning on relying on them for nutrition. To supplement maybe. But I'll carry everything I need for 20 miles.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll have the one flask that I can stow in the back of the belt, and then I'll have a handheld. Also, that it's a soft flask handheld that once it gets empty, I just kind of tuck it in the side of the belt too. So then, because I really like having my hands free.
Yeah.
I have not found a vest that I enjoy more than just having handhelds or the belt. I'll have a vest with me in case I want to switch. But I'm hoping that I don't end up, because I don't enjoy it as much.
Yeah. So I carry, as a lot of my race reports have kind of shown, this is the Ultra Spire. They can't see the video, but this is I carry, it's the Basham for those but this is called the Revolt. This is the original. So the bottle goes across the back, and then you can actually have another bottle in the small of the back, but that's how wide it is. So it sits between the shoulder blades. So it's still very open, very meshy. It's really light, and it doesn't take up like a lot of vests get hot, because you're so this is really airy. I mean, the very thin straps, it's still got storage capacity. So that's typically the one I wear. Because I can carry 2 bottles and nutrition, and it, like I said, it's called the Basham now. You can still find the Revolt online. Actually, I picked up. They have a long version because I'm taller, so I picked it up for like $20 online. But yeah. So what do you do for nutrition? What's your nutrition plan? How often do you take it, and what are you taking?
I eat about every 25 minutes, some sort of 100-calorie item. I don't dig a lot of gels. But I have found stuff I like. My main ones being Spring Energy. I love their stuff. And then Huma gels. So I'll kind of switch. I'll use a little bit of both. I'm trying to prevent that palate fatigue. And then I also do bars, actually, there's a couple Cliff bars that I like that I've done on, like during my 50 miler, that I did a 50 mile leading up to this, and in my long runs, and some other real food stuff that I'll get at my from Hope at the crew stops. But yeah, I have my nutrition pretty. I mean, I know anything can happen in 100 miles. It could all go wrong, but for up to 50 miles, it's dialed. I'd never, I'm pretty solid there. We'll see what happens on, in the 100 miler, but after 50 miles, who knows what's going to happen. But
we'll come back to the 50 mile that you did and the training leading up. But just to touch on this front portion, what type of pace is 22 hours? What does that work out to be?
It's like right at 13 minutes, I think, per mile, something like that. Little over, maybe a little over 13 minutes per mile.
Okay. And you've practiced that pace? Have you practiced running that pace?
Yeah, well, so that's the other challenging thing. I have done runs where that's been my average pace. I rarely ever
Gotcha.
run at a 13 mile,
Yeah. Right.
but yeah, only when there's been quite a bit of elevation gain has my pace averaged 13. So most of my training, is faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
More, and like the races I did leading up, I was going out to race. I still wanted to push myself, so I didn't do any of my races at that pace. No.
Okay. All right. Well, talk about the races. What races did you do leading up?
I did. Gosh, what was the first 50K? What the heck is it called? I don't even remember that. Sorry, blanking on the name. But then I did Lynchburg. You've run it. You did it in the Beast series. The first.
The Holiday Lake.
David Holiday Lake. Yeah, I was blanking on the name for some reason. Holiday Lake 50K.
Okay.
Then I did. Thank you. Then I did Terrapin Mountain 50K. Then I did the Grayson Highlands 50 miler. I had to do a 50 miler to qualify for Old Dominion because my other 50 was so long ago. So and I had the ones actually that I was originally going to do ended up not happening. They didn't have them. So I did Grayson Highlands 50 miler. Just a few weeks, just like 4 weeks ago.
Nice. How'd that go?
The 50 miler?
Yeah.
Or all of them? Holiday Lake, I sprained my ankle. I rolled my ankle real bad and ended up being a sprain the week before. So that was a tough one. I still felt I felt like I still needed to run it though. I knew it was a risk, but I felt confident. I did a lot of thinking and praying beforehand, and I was like, no, I think I'm still should run this. And it went great actually, considering it was, considering that. Yeah. So, and those were crazy conditions. I don't know if it was, freezing rain the entire time, ice and slush and mud, and not the best thing on a sprained ankle. But I have a little brace on it. Terrapin Mountain was awesome. And then I rolled my ankle bad, the same one with like 6 or 7 miles to go, but I was just flying, just crushing it, feeling, amazing, in that one. And still finished well. And I think I finished in like 5:03 or something. Yeah, I felt good, and I was like, "Oh man, I could get sub 5 hours." So then I started kind of bombing the downhill a little harder, probably. And what I realized I was doing is overstride, and I was just, I'm still kind of learning all this too, as I'm going through. It was actually a podcast with you and Patrick Reagan. Listening, and I heard him saying how, I forget who it was, one of his buddies was behind him and saying like, dude, you're not taking enough steps. That's why you keep rolling your ankle. And I was like, shoot, maybe that's what I'm doing. And sure enough, I started kind of upping how many steps I'm taking and haven't rolled it since. So I rolled. So that slowed me down at the end. Mostly it was a mental struggle. It was just like, oh my gosh, but once I got over that, I was able to still run in pretty hard. But it definitely slowed me down for a while. And then Grayson Highlands went great. I was kind of going into it with a little, you're kind of always a little bit banged up. You're running this much, training this much. I was having a little bit of a quad thing that did aggravate me, but it didn't get worse or anything. And I held back a little bit on the downhills because that was where, because I knew, this close to Old Dominion, I didn't want to like make this worse or exacerbate this. So that one went well, though too, especially considering that.
Nice. And what did your max mileage per week max out at?
85 miles.
Great.
And I felt great, man. I like just going along. Like, I don't care, like race or no race. I really love, I just like an adventure, man. Like, that's why I love ultra running. Like that kid part of me, like I told you today, just going on the adventure with the boys back in the woods. Like, I'm still just such a big kid. Like, so like this ultra running is just basically a way to just, go on these crazy long adventures. Like, so my training runs, I have especially if I'm running a new place, like when I went out to the Massanutten area to run on the Old Dominion course, like, it was hard for me to turn around and go back to the car. I just wanted to keep on exploring and, seeing different places and stuff. So
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I was the same yesterday. I was out running and, you get to that. I was an out and back. So I got to the turnaround and, it's like, I just want to keep going around the bend here.
Yep.
No, time to go back.
Yeah. That is always me. Like, oh, well, but what's up over there? And then my 8-mile run turns into a 15-mile run or something.
Yep. Absolutely. That's fantastic. So training sounds like it's gone extremely well. And, like you said, you're not sure what's going to happen past 50. Have you prepared with like lighting and stuff like that? Have you done any night runs to kind of check out your lighting and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I end up just running at night, like very similar to you, just with family and kids. Sometimes it's just more convenient to run after bedtime at night. But this time I also just intentionally did it. I also run super early in the morning on the weekends and even the weekdays. So I end up running at night a lot, actually. But then I've done some intentional, like longer runs at night with my lighting to see, if I would, and trying to do it on some more technical stuff just to see, like, so I feel comfortable with it. I do it so often. Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Right on. What do you use for lighting?
I have I did switch it up with that. I'm doing a Petzl, I don't know how to pronounce it, Nao, Nao. Yep. Kind of like the big Mac Daddy one that they have. Mostly just because it lasts so long. So I'm going with that. I've enjoyed that. I've been messing with having a little clip-on belt light. I do sometimes like that extra little bit. So, but definitely I'm not. Yeah, but with when I have my belt loaded up with nutrition, sometimes it's kind of hard to clip it on. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to go with it or not.
Okay. Yeah.
With that lamp, I haven't really needed it, or felt like I needed it. I felt good out there without it.
Okay. If it gets foggy, it is a good thing to have, because it does give you that, light dispension a lot lower. So it gives you, it lights up the trail, whereas like your headlamp will just kind of give you that halo in front of your face, and you will not get much of the trail or the depth perception of what the trail is. Whereas like, and it's not to say you just can't hold your light, down low, if it is foggy and give yourself that depth perception. But that is the advantage of the waist, is having that lower light. It will, especially in the fog. When I did grindstone, that belt was a lifesaver. I had that. I wear both a headlamp and a belt, but that belt has saved me on numerous occasions. UTMB was crucial quite a few times. It's a good thing to have on board. Even if you're not using it the whole time, but it is a good thing to have. We talked about gear. We talked about training. What expectations or questions, do you want to talk about, or questions you may have? Do you have anything you want to ask about? Things you're curious on?
I guess, or no. Yeah, totally. This is perfect, actually. So, one of them being, I know, nutrition, you're always operating at a deficit. You're not taking in more than you're burning. And I've certainly experienced firsthand that what fuels you for, 16 miles is not going to work for a marathon. And then what works for a marathon is not going to work for 50 miles.
Yeah.
So and I've kind of heard this on some of your podcasts, like you mentioned this, but do you find yourself taking in more nutrition as you get later into the race, like eating more often than you typically did or started at the beginning?
Yeah. So definitely a few things. My interval diminishes. So like you said, you start off with like 25 minutes. I start out about 30 minutes, but as the race goes on, it becomes less and less. And then it's just like constantly kind of just getting calories in, or having a larger, like a meal almost. What I always tell my athletes and, make the recommendation is, like, when you usually have breakfast or lunch or dinner, have those meals, like have something substantial, have something ready that's like, that like a ton of calories that you can kind of just, you can walk and eat or, consume while you're changing things out. But have something that's, it's going to give you like that kind of, I feel full.
Yeah.
And it can be anything, something at the aid station, whatever looks good. If it's a burger or a piece of pizza, whatever it is, just try to get stuff down. And then you'll find that over the course of the race, you're doing that more and more frequently. At first, maybe I'll just grab some potato chips, that'll sustain me. And then it's like maybe some broth and potato chips. Okay, maybe some watermelon broth and potato chips. It just starts growing a little bit more, so you're consuming more calories over the course of the event, especially towards the latter half. That's when, like you said, you're going into deficit, and it's just, you just need the calories to keep going. So if you're starting to feel lethargic, sleepy, like your legs are just like, they just don't have the energy, you need more calories. And then it's just dumping in whatever the body will take. It's like, it's kind of like it's a furnace and you're just gonna throw whatever on the furnace, because it's gonna burn it. It just needs to go down. But like like I said, it just starts to become like more and more substantial calories, like, whereas it might have been something simple at the beginning, then all of a sudden it's like, I take 3 hot dogs, like Umstead was like, it was just like that, like it started off really simple with like Spring and Huma. And then, it just started compounding. Like I was like, I was just consuming, as much as I could. And then, in the end, I felt great at the end because I was sustaining the calories. I was able to keep it going down. That's the thing. And like, even if your stomach goes south, you have to find ways to kind of get that food down. And the stomach will come around, it's just, it's diverting blood everywhere. So it's just, you have to like let it, get the absorption, let the blood start coming back and absorbing the food. And then, it will start coming around again, but you have to keep feeding it, or else it's just, it's a really tough battle. Do you do calories from your fluids as well, or just water?
I don't. I've tried so many different ways, so many different times, and I've found that I just prefer water. What I would end up doing is watering down the stuff so much, especially the longer the race went, the less and less I would want it. So like for marathon, with Donald, those road marathons, I would, but man, it would be hard to drink at the end. I could still eat like gels or whatever. But for some reason the drink would just get tough. I don't know if it's because I don't drink. I only like literally drink water or black coffee. Like maybe it's that, I don't know. But like when I'm not, running. What it ends up happening is like, I just end up watering it down mostly anyway. So I've started this training. I was like, I'm just going to try completely just water. And it's been working great. I make sure I get my electrolytes still. And I just get all my calories through food.
Yeah. It looks like we're going to have a high of maybe 83-ish. Again, we don't know what's at the aid stations. Are you going to have, have some ice for you? Do you have,
yes.
Yeah. Good. You're good. Good. Do you have an ice bandana? And
I'm gonna do the actually your trick there with the buff.
The buff.
I just roll it up in the buff. I've got 2, so she'll make another one, and we'll swap them out every time I see her. That's the plan. Yeah.
Cool. Arm sleeves work well too. If you have like the UV arm sleeves, if you put it like on the inside of the bicep and then on the wrist too, it drops the heart rate. It cools you off. It's interesting. And then the strangest one that I don't know if I've shared this on here, I've shared with a few of my athletes for these hot races, is actually menthol cough drops. It tricks the brain because it feels cooling, and so it actually tricks the brain into thinking that it's cooler. It's a mental thing, but I've heard that works as well. So, another potential for somebody out there. I don't know, if you and I want to try it on Saturday, an experiment, but
I probably will not be. I don't want to be messing with it. This might be my only time I go at 100 miles here, man. So I don't know that I'm going to be experimenting out there too much.
That's right. I'm gonna go with the menthol cigarettes, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, that's a great. It'll work out great for you, I'm sure.
No.
Yeah, no.
But no, that's okay. So, any other apprehensions or questions or things you want to talk about going into this one?
No, I mean, yeah, the biggest question mark for me is that pacing. Like I said, I like taking risks and going out fast and maybe blowing up, but sometimes you don't, and it ends up being this crazy fast race that's really hard to replicate. Like Donald and I have had that. We've had a few races where that just the magic happened that day, and it wouldn't have happened if we didn't go for it, from the get-go. So we've had a 10K where literally one of the 5K splits is faster than our fastest 5K. That's just ridiculous. That shouldn't happen. Yeah. We just don't run a lot of 5Ks too, but it was just one of those magic days where we went for it. Somehow I held on. He's always strong. But so yeah, it's that that pace that you can do for 50 miles. Obviously, I'm not trying to keep that up for 100 miles, but how much do you really need to slow down, especially in the beginning, to be able to sustain? I don't want it to be a death march either. For the last 50 miles or something.
Right.
But I do want to kind of push the envelope,
I'll say this too. It's, you've got the front half, right? You've got 50 miles, and then you got a back half that's, a lot can still happen in that back half, it's, my reservation is that if I put it forth in the front half and I don't have it for the back half, I'd rather, be a little conservative on the front half and then, leave it for the back. Now, listen, the reason I keep doing these 100 milers is because I have no mastery of this distance. I will say, this has been kicking me in the tail every time I've done it, because that's why I keep doing it, because I want to get better at it. I'm okay with the lower distances, but this one really I suck at it. There's no way around that. I've had one good one, and that was at Chattanooga. I ran a pretty darn good race, but even Umstead was, it was good. I'm not saying I didn't have a good race, but I still went down for a long time and, in the middle there. So I'd like to just have a consistent race and, just kind of practice my fueling and making sure that, I get it. Cause Grindstone in the fall, I'd really like that one to go well. Cause I need my Hard Rock qualifier again.
Man.
So I'm by all means, if you feel like chasing it, if the day is presenting itself as that day where you're just feeling magical, go for it, man. But you go out and you're maybe my body's not quite with me yet. Give it some time, it's a long race, and you'll have your ebbs and flows, and that's where the nutrition comes in. It's just trying to keep that even keel, just that consistent energy. And you just feel like you've got the pace and you're dialed in and you can just grind on all day. And that's where it is, and it took me going down at Umstead and getting back up and then finding that, here's the pace. I was going probably a little too fast in the beginning and I just wasn't feeling it. And then heat came and it just kicked my tail, and then it just made me realize, well, maybe I was pushing too hard, so you got to listen to the body at times. And sometimes it's hard because you're looking at your watch and you're like, I really should be moving faster than this. But the reality is, it's what the day gives you, and we have to recognize that. So, just be patient, be real patient. A lot of the racing doesn't happen until that latter half. And I've learned that all too many times in these hundreds. It's I'll go out, too hard. And then, I've got person upon person passing me in that back half. And it's just whew, man, why did I go out so hard? But it's like I said, it's all the given day. You never know what's going to happen, like you said, especially unless you try. So, but at the same time, you said, you may not have another opportunity at 100. So, I'd love for you to to get that 22-hour goal and get your sterling silver buckle.
That's right. Yeah.
But it's and that's the other thing is like if you're above 24 hours, there's no buckle. That's like I was like, woo. All right.
I'm okay. If that I mean, obviously I want that buckle. That's that's my C goals 24 hours, and then just finish is my my everything after goal. But yeah, it's like I do. If I'm not saying I'm going to go out there like 8-minute miles and try to just destroy. I'm just saying like if like with the
I'll call you if you do.
Yeah. With like 50 miles, you can I can manage sort of like my effort. I can feel like okay, this is how hard I can keep going. Pushing it hard, and it went like at Grayson Highlands. It went well. Like the 50K especially. That's just so manageable in terms of like. Okay, this is how hard I can go at the beginning. I'm pushing, but I'm not like, and then sure enough, like towards the end of Terrapin Mountain, I just was feeling stronger and stronger as it was going on, especially when we were hitting the steeper stuff. That was when I was just cruising along passing people.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, I can actually go faster. Maybe could have started a little bit faster even in that one. But yeah, I'm just like, if I'm going out there and those 12-minute miles, let's say, are like coming easy, and it's like, okay, maybe I can average more around 12 instead of 13 and start shooting down to 21 an hour, like that would be cool. But, I'm not going to pay for it when I hit that climb out of Elizabeth Furnace and up Sherman's Gap, I think it is, or whatever.
Yes.
But yeah,
that's cool. And
we'll see.
Hey man, when you're packing, like if you think, maybe I need this, throw it in. Like don't have any reservations. It's better to overpack. I just wrote a whole article about that. I'll have it in my newsletter. It's better to overpack than to not have it. If you're thinking about footwear, socks, whatever, like those are all vital things. And have backups for the backups. Just be as prepared as you can in that regard. Don't hesitate. I know Hope's going to have a carload of stuff, but
she will. Poor her.
It's better to have than to have not, and same thing with the nutrition. Like I've been saying, you go through the grocery store and you go aisle by aisle and you're like, this looks good. throw it in the cart, it's, you may not get to it. You may not eat it, but it's there, and
now I got a whole bin of stuff that like, okay, if my normal stuff, I'm just like, I'm not touching any of this. I got a whole bin of other stuff that's just like, I'll try something completely different that I have had. It's all stuff I've eaten before, but I don't typically eat it when I run. This sort of kind of like what you mentioned, I think on a recent one, the Coops, I was listening to one of your older ones. I think it was Coops Bullseye strategy.
Bullseye.
I got those sort of second and area and third ring stuff. That's like, I like these things. I don't always eat them on runs, but she'll be toting a lot around in our little Corolla to all the stops.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, we're going to have a follow-up episode, post run. We'll plan that as your brain fog dissipates from this event. We've got a 4 a.m. start. I will see you guys on Friday at the fairgrounds, which is where we're starting for the race meeting. I cannot wait. And
me either, man. Can't wait
to say hey in person. So and I certainly wish you the best. I hope this week is non-stressful. I hope you get some. And everybody takes it easy on you.
Same, man. Same to you.
Thanks, dude. I will look forward to our follow-up conversation.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll be talking about some positive things.
Absolutely.
Wrote this song while crewing Aaron on a 100-mile foot race through the trails in the rain and mud. How about that? 100 miles to go. 100 miles to go. miles by foot. Well, ask me why I do it. I can't stay put. Rain is a coming, can't give a fit. Rain is a coming, rain is a coming, can't give a fit.